Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, you are watching Off the Track, and it is time to drop the hammer.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to episode number 4 of Off the Track. I'm your host, Tanner Holmes, and to my left, I have my best friend and co-host, Bennett Gooch. Bennett, what have you been up to lately?
Yeah, like you said, we've just been, hanging out, shooting videos on my channel and stuff, and we finally got back to Red Bluff after how many days it was? Like
49 days, 6 weeks.
49 days, yeah. So we got back to Red Bluff Saturday. Congratulations. You got the win there.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun. We finally parked the factory QRC number 18T back in Victory Lane. We talked about it in the first episode of Off the Track. Man, how tough my indoor season has kind of been. It's been up and down, and that's just how Red Bluff is. But finally, we were able to put together all 30 laps. Nothing went wrong, and got our first win of the season and first win of 2020.
Yeah, you were definitely hauling. You had that. I think you had the fastest lap time in the main for sure. And I know you may have tried the top once or twice, but this is kind of the first track of the year where everything was all on the bottom, where throughout the year, everything's kind of been all on the top. So we get right back to it after 49 days, and we got a completely different racetrack.
That's what's so interesting to kind of touch on Red Bluff to start. Like you said, it's always different. It's in the same building, it's the same dirt, but because of all the different shows that happen inside the Pauly Davis Pavilion, the track's always different because they always have to reshape it and get it back to its original measurements. But yeah, the track this week, right around the bottom, it was kind of technical. It was tough to hit. And there was also a berm, which we don't usually see, which actually, in my opinion, made the bottom easier to run because you could kind of get your left front up on it. But anyway, we drew the 2, so that was good to be back on the front row, and we were able to get a good start and started running the top early, and it was pretty clean, but it would just get dirty so fast, and I could already see people kind of trying to show me a nose, run down low, and I figured, you know what, I just got to go down there, and that was by far the fastest line of the race. So once we were able to stay out in clean air, we were able to just lead a bunch of laps. Had so many yellow flags. They were giving us everything they had, but I think at open air we were definitely the best car.
Yeah, for sure. Like you were saying, a week before the Saturday, there was like a bowl and gelding sale going on there, and it was packed, and the ground was solid, hard. So a new track. I think everyone can agree. Qualifying track wasn't optimal this weekend. It was super rough. It looked like.
It was. I don't even really know how to describe it. It was almost chunky. Pretty much what happened, and if you saw the vlog, you definitely saw this. It was just so wet, and I think it was just overwatered in a way, which obviously what they were trying to do is get the surface wetter or, get the track. So then later in the night, it wouldn't get as slick to the point where it cleans off and takes rubber like we've seen for a good majority of the season. So it was all good intentions, but it just did not work out. It got real chunky. It started to come apart, and it was dang near impossible to clean off for all of open qualifying. So we're all just out there. It was funny. We were joking about it with a couple of the drivers. It felt like I had a snow plow and I was like plowing a driveway or something. And I was making my own lane wherever I went. It just, everywhere you go, you try to clean it off and it wouldn't do anything. And then the car behind you, they could follow in your exact tracks and they're hitting the same thing. So it was pretty rough and the times were much slower. But even though we had a poor qualifying run, we bounced back. Even in the heat race, I struggled a little bit, fell back a spot. But when it came time for the main event, our car was just the best.
Yeah, like you were saying, super awesome to get back to Red Bluff. I was there for the win and whatnot. So, let's keep the momentum rolling into this weekend for sure.
Absolutely. This next race pays $1,500 to win. It's also a 6-foot trophy. It's the Perpetual Trophy Night presented by, I believe, Red Bluff Yamaha and Factory QRC Karts. So that's going to be cool going into that. Now I think it's time to talk about our guests that we're going to have on the show.
Yeah, before that, while we're still in the swing of the Outlaw Car things, and I think this is a personal question for you, for all racing. I know this applies to me a little bit, but do you have any weird, because I kind of notice this when I'm filming for you and stuff, and I'm just hanging behind you. Do you have any weird things you do in the car? Like, not necessarily like, I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like, you know what I mean? Like, like just weird things
you do on the track. Yeah, this is funny. So people have asked me this in a Q&A.
Yeah.
Biggest things I always do, and it's a terrible habit. My mom gets so mad at me, and I've tried to do my best to cut back on it, but I like to click the steering wheel. That's one of the main things. So click the steering wheel and staging. I see other drivers do that all the time. And then one of the other things I used to do was always pull up on my gloves, or like push them against the wheel to really get my hand as far into the glove as possible, I guess. So there's that. Those are two things I do. And another one is, it's weird. Right before we go green, sometimes, usually hot laps qualifying beginning of the night, I have like a weird head twitch in a way. Like you'll see me kind of rock my head back and forth. And then obviously it stops as far as it can go because of the hybrid. But those are some interesting things that I do. Is there any unique habits that you have in the car?
I think what I used to do in the Outlaw cart before the main event, and it was always the main event, like I would get strapped in on my trailer and I'm rolled over and I should be ready to go on the track. And then I would loosen my belts and then redo them. And then, like, if I waited too long, I'll loosen them and redo them. Like, so I was just always like, sometimes I was at the point where I'm rolling on the track to get fired and one of my belts are loose. And I'm like, I don't know. It's just weird. Like, when I go out there, I just want everything to be tight as can be, but not uncomfortable. You know what I mean?
No, that totally makes sense. And like I said, I have some unique things that I do, and I'm the same way. If I'm sitting in staging too long, that's where those habits come out the most.
100%.
Because nervousness or whatever. But usually for myself, I'm more nervous at the beginning of the night when I guess you could say I'm not like warmed up, qualifying heat races. But by the time the main event rolls around and I'm strapped in, ready to go, usually I'm not doing any of those things.
Gotcha.
So that's maybe something interesting you guys learned about Bennett and I. Comment down below. Do you have any unique habits that you do before? Yeah. We'd love to hear them. Now it's time to talk about our guest for today. The first guest that we're having on, that after Carly, we had her for episode 2. It was awesome to talk about her racing and everything she did on the podcast Off the Track. But today we are going to have Rico Abreu call into the episode and the show. This was a phenomenal chance to get to talk to him.
Yeah, no, me and Tanner both had some personal accounts with Rico. Rico's just absolutely one of the biggest figures in sprint car racing on and off the track for sure. And I think everyone's going to really enjoy this shoot that we just had with him, because we just finished up the interview. So I think it's solid.
Oh, a very, very good content. I think a lot of you guys are going to enjoy this. And like Bennett touched on there, we've both met Rico before. We had some really cool experiences with him. Mine actually being, it was funny. I first found out about Rico actually on YouTube because I was watching some races from Cycleland before I ever had went there. And he had won the QRC Cup, which like at the time, that was the biggest event, super cool trophy. And I believe it was in like open intermediate or 250. But Rico wins this race. I believe it was actually a pretty good finish. He burns it down in the infield, and that was on Carl Wilson's YouTube channel, which like back then, that was the guy who filmed everything in Outlaw Karts, like 2009, 2010, 2011. So that's how I first found out about him. Then he moved up to the sprint car ranks and actually competed here at the Southern Oregon Speedway during one of Oregon's 360 Speed Weeks, which is now what we compete on when they do it during the summertime. So I believe back then it was an ASCS region, ASCS Northwest, and he actually was on the front straightaway because it was time to do the top 8 redraw, and I ran down there to try to be one of the kids that got to pick a pill for him. And fortunate enough, I got lined up with Rico. I drew him the 1. And then he actually went out and won the feature from the pole, and I got a victory lane photo with him and a couple of my buddies. So that's how I really met Rico. That night, he gave us a bunch of free merchandise and all that. It was incredible. And then we saw him a couple more times as he came back to Red Bluff over and over to compete maybe once or twice a year. So I know you also have a pretty cool experience on how you first met Rico.
So I remember growing up in the kart divisions, when we were learning the setups and whatnot, Karen Bloom, actually, so that's Keith Bloom's mom, and a lot of people know if you're in the karting world, Keith Bloom.
The winningest driver in Red Bluff Outlaw history.
And you're right behind him. One more win.
We're one win behind him.
But tying him for most wins, right?
Yeah, he has 40 and we got 39, so we're pretty close.
So anyways, Karen Bloom, absolutely one of the best people to ever set up an Outlaw kart. Her duo with Carl Pavlik in building a kart and Keith driving, it was a phenomenal trio. And we actually would go over to her house on Friday nights, and we would have things called scale parties. So what it is a bunch of people would go over and we would scale the race cars. Well, Rico at the time, when he was with, I think it was Tanner Thorson on his team, Abreu Vineyards and stuff, they would come over and help scale and whatnot. And I think at one time we had a backyard track out at Karen's house, and we would run yard carts, and they were just torn down, no cages or nothing, but no, super cool to be able to race at Red Bluff when Rico was still racing at Red Bluff in the Outlaw karts. And one of my it's not a good memory for sure, but it's one of the craziest memories. I was watching, I think it was the Open Main, and Rico flipped over the fence in turn 1. And I think this might have been one of the first times anyone's ever flipped over a fence at Red Bluff Outlaws.
Incredible.
And people were like going nuts. Like, did that really just happen? And I think it was the start of a B main or A main or something like that. And he just went right over the fence. He was all good and everything. But
that was probably one of the first viral videos from karts as well, because you can still find it on YouTube. But yeah, he just hopped a right rear going into 1. And it's actually crazy that we don't see this happen more with how the racing is so tight at Red Bluff. But Rico gassed up, and I believe the car in front of him was off the pace or something, and he just hopped the right rear and flew over the turn 1 fence. And yeah, that was when he first got started, and after that made the transition up through the open class, through Cycleland, and then into the sprint car world. Yeah. So we have an awesome conversation today, about 25 minutes with Rico Abreu. We talk about the recent Chili Bowl and how that went for him, his Rowdy Energy deal. We also talk about Rico and his brand, and then also how all that got started, and some of his biggest accomplishments, and then what is next for Rico Abreu. So hopefully you guys enjoy, like I said, about a 25-minute interview. Let's get into it. So joining us here over the phone, we have 2-time Chili Bowl champion, winner of the Trophy Cup, and also has 8 World of Outlaw victories to his name. Rico, you've had a pretty action-packed start to your 2021 season. You ran the Chili Bowl and been competed in the 2021 Wild Wing Shootout. How have you felt about your start to the year in racing?
Yeah, thanks for having me on, guys. I feel like it's been pretty successful so far. The Chili Bowl was a great opening race. I mean, for me this year, it's usually, the biggest race of the year. But this year it's been a little bit different just with COVID and stuff. But other than that, having new sponsors and performing well, I know the results don't really show. But, but we had a great week at the Chili Bowl, and I was able to get a preliminary night win, and run in the top 5 majority of the A feature, and actually lost a tire at the end. So other than that, I've had a really successful start of the year.
Absolutely, and that's one of the first things we actually wanted to dive in with you for the 2021 Chili Bowl. How was it different this year compared to most? Obviously, the pandemic and whatnot, it made things a little different, maybe a couple less people in the building, but how was the 2021 Chili Bowl from that side of things?
Yeah, it was, obviously a little bit slower this year, just with not as many people there. I didn't really, bring as much merchandise as I usually do to the Chili Bowl, just with the limit of crowd. But I felt like it was a great success. They made it happen. Everyone was really good about wearing masks, and they were really, really strict about it. So we were able to keep going and keep racing when I think there was a few times they had some close calls where the health department wanted to shut the Chili Bowl down, and they really ramped up on the mask wearing, and everyone participated in all that too. So it was fine, honestly, and I think that really puts the Chili Bowl in a good spot for 2022 of getting full capacity, and then it getting back to where it really needs to be.
Yeah, that was super cool to see it, get to happen this year. I know it was really up in the air there for a little bit. You touched on it there for a minute, having some new sponsors this year. And I know Bennett and I were pretty excited when we saw the announcement that Rowdy Energy was going to be a part of your Chili Bowl. We're both big Kyle Busch fans. How did that come up? I know Rowdy Energy, a new energy drink that just recently got released to the market. But how did you get hooked up with Kyle Busch and his side of things?
Yeah, so I did a partnership with Rowdy Energy and Pit Pay, which is going to be a new Pit Pass app where you can purchase your Pit Passes prior to the races, which will make it really convenient, knock the lines down at the races, and speed up obviously the entry into the pit area. And it's not so much where you have to you can pay for your Pit Passes a week in advance when you have the money, and not really have to worry about putting money aside to wait to pay for your Pit Pass while you're on the way to the track or something. So it's a great company that's going to be hitting the sprint car world or open wheel world really big. And then we did a partnership with Pit Pay and Rowdy Energy, where they were both orange is the base for the Pit Pay company, so it allowed us to present Kyle Busch with his orange citrus flavored to sponsor my car at the Chili Bowl, and he really digged it. So it really worked out, and I felt like they got a great ROI. Partnering with me and Keith Coons for myself to race the Chili Bowl.
I think quick mention there. I think Tanner could probably agree on this. That was one of the nicest looking cars at the Chili Bowl this year as well, because I think some people were running the years, the 2020 schemes prior to their 2020 scheme, and I think that was probably one of the best looking cars this year for sure.
I really agree. Yeah, I agree the same. I mean, I think the way that Kyle Busch and Frank and myself, the thought that was put into the car for Blackbeard to hit it, and only took him a couple of tries, and I think it worked out really well for them.
So when are you going to get Kyle Busch in a midget here and give him some pointers?
I told him, Coons or somebody would be willing to put him in a car. I think, the more time he spends with Brexton racing at Millbridge, hopefully it opens an opportunity for him to, test him a little bit and then get ready for the Chili Bowl.
Mm-hmm. That's very awesome. Yeah, hopefully we see that. I know we saw Chase Elliott ran the Chili Bowl this year, and a few of the other asphalt guys are kind of probably itching to get their feet wet and get more dirt experience. The next thing that we want to talk about here during this interview, and I think this is super cool because Bennett and I come from a similar background that you do, Outlaw Karts, Northern California, and really, where did your journey through the sport begin? I know you ran a lot of Outlaw Kart stuff, Cycling and Red Bluff is a big part of that, but really, where did your journey through the sport of racing begin?
Yeah, so great question. I had some neighbors that raced Outlaw Karts before I even kind of knew they even existed, and I was able to spend some time over at their house helping them prepare their karts to race at Vallejo Speedway back in like 2005 and 2006, and I got to attend some races with them, and then I came really intrigued with sprint car racing and outlaw racing and being from California and the world of, being from St. Helena, Calistoga Speedway was right in our backyard, a couple miles down the road. And they have a speedway there that the World of Outlaws compete at and Golden State and SC. And so I was able to get to some sprint car races and become a really, really big fan and just getting to enjoy sprint car racing as a fan before I was really introduced to it as a race car driver. And then, the family was able to help us structure a go-kart when Robert Carroll owned QRC, and Carl Pavlik built me a kart that I was able to fit in comfortably and race, and then race it competitively, a few months later. So it's a really, really cool story that, I kind of got going from no racing background in my family, and then to it's all I do today, and it's all I think about, and it's all I want to be successful in with.
That's cool. Very neat. One of the questions actually that popped up while you were talking about that there, you said that they built a kart for you, and it's funny, one of the karts I believe that they built at QRC for you, we actually ended up purchasing when I got started into 250s. And so when they built it for you, wasn't it true they had the gas tank in the front and then you had the pedals right there?
Yeah.
That's super cool. That's super cool. So running outlaw karts growing up, how beneficial do you think it was for you? Like, for example, Cycling, I know a bunch of kids, especially now it's the main thing to do, but running multiple classes per night, at Cycling, you can run like opens and open intermediate or 250 and open intermediate. How valuable was it for you to get so many laps on the racetrack in the karts in Northern California?
Yeah, I think that's everything. Is just maximizing your ability to race as much as you can in one weekend, just because it's hard to go to go-kart races, more than once or twice a weekend like you can in the sprint car race a few times in a week. And then the biggest thing too is that the ability that they allow you to race separate classes where when I first got started, I started in 250s for a season, and then the following season I raced 250s, I raced open intermediates, and I ran open. So I was running 90 laps a night for an A main.
That's incredible.
Plus 3 times a week. It would be 3 races a night. And then if we went to Lakeport on Sundays, sometimes if we did really well at Cycleland. So it really, really sped my learning curve up, especially being at Cycleland where it was really, really technical racetrack where it taught you how to be really patient on the bottom and then be really aggressive on the top. And the more aggressive you were on the top, the faster you went, and the more patient you were on the bottom, the faster you went. So, and I feel like too, the biggest part of my success was how competitive each class was. With the 250s, you look back now and it was Tanner Thorson, Logan Seavey, Tyler Seavey, James Eden. There was so many, Jesse Caldwell, Morgan Sanhagen. There was so many competitive racers, and it made it for a different winner every night usually. And then you would see, I remember John. I think it was Jonathan Rossi and James Eden. They were really, really good on the bottom, and so was Tanner and Logan. So it made it really, really competitive. And I followed them through intermediates, open intermediates, and then into open. So we were all kind of the class of 2011 and 2012, and it was it really, really sped my learning curve up in racing.
Nice. So quick mention, talking about getting as much laps as you can. I'm a really big fan of backyard tracks, and you actually built a super cool track in your backyard, also known as the Vineyard Bowl. Can you talk about that track and getting laps on that when you were starting?
Yeah. So, I was lucky enough to, my family and Saddle Offer Construction built a racetrack in our backyard. And I was able to get out there and run some laps before I even kind of started racing competitively, and it allowed us to have friends over, and they got to race, bring their carts, and we got to run laps, and we were able to race not competitively, but we were all just as competitive as we were at the races. So you would get to do some bumping and banging out there, and it was a lot of fun, and it made it so I could learn just the speeds of the go-karts and more mechanical stuff than anything, and testing, and it helped out a lot.
So you make all these laps, early on in your career, you kind of go through the outlaw kart ranks and then transitioning into the wing sprint car. You live in a pretty good area, Northern California. There's probably 7, 8, 9 tracks you can run at from Fridays, Saturdays to even Sundays. How was that transition from the outlaw kart to the sprint car, and then eventually, getting to the point, taking your operation on the road and racing throughout the Midwest?
Yeah, it made it really, really interesting just because of, you get to do, Chico or Watsonville on Friday nights, and then you could go to, Hanford or a NARC show or an SCCT show on Saturdays. And I think it just really taught you how to race with patience racing in California, and then taught you really how to stand on the gas with the competitors you got to race with, and the hooked up and rough tracks out here. So it made me better in some tracks in the Midwest, and then some tracks in the Midwest like Knoxville and Eldora, and where it got really, really slick and technical half miles we don't really see out here in California besides Calistoga. But I feel like Calistoga kind of races like a short track with the long straightaways and tight corners. So it made me really, really learn racing in the Midwest, and then you raced with so many more competitors and new competitors that and with the World of Outlaws or the All-Stars, that I feel like are series that are a little bit more competition based than would be your local Friday night races out in California here. So it allowed me to gain all that experience, and then when I came home and raced, I felt like I was so much better and more competitive when I got home, just because of the experience I gained racing in the Midwest from the different tracks and different speeds and different sanctioning bodies racing with them.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's definitely one thing that seems to go around in the racing world. The differences from racing on the West Coast to the Midwest and the different styles of tracks and competitors that you go up against. So now to kind of shift gears from talking about how you got started, one of the coolest things I think about what you do, Rico, is your brand that you have, shoprico.com, the merchandise and everything that you built there. At what point in your racing career did you realize that was kind of going to be a thing and something that could really support your racing through your name and your brand, Rico Abreu and Rico Abreu Racing?
Yeah, the last probably 5 years or so, I've put in a big effort into, understanding my race team on my own and management on my race team and people management on my race team. And then, building the Shop Rico brand with my girlfriend, Megan, and I, and that kind of being our foundation around my race team. So, it's been a lot of fun. It's a lot of work. I have some help, at times, but it's usually just her and I, so not much overhead. And then, there's time where my crew members will help me, when we're out on the road and need assistance with that. So, it's been a huge learning curve to try to manage both businesses. But I feel like, the more I'm personable and able to, promote it on my own, the better it does. So it's been really good.
That's super neat. Yeah, I know all the content and everything you guys put out, posting the Facebook videos or on Instagram, Twitter. That's always super cool to see. I fortunate enough to do some of the merchandise thing myself, and I kind of want to know, because I don't get a chance to talk to too many people that do a lot of that, but like, how exciting is it for you to see like orders coming in? For example, we love Black Friday. This last Black Friday for us, we do our whole sale, we do everything. How is that like for you guys, or just when you do maybe a sale on a weekend or something, and to see all the support that people are showing you from throughout the whole United States?
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. It's an amazing process. Just to see the work that gets put in, and then, the reward is, seeing those orders that come in. And then on the other side of that is, the connection you build with the fans doing it. And nobody can take that away from us. So it's important that, that my interaction or your interaction with the fan is, they'll remember that forever. So
absolutely,
I really focus on that first initial impression and customer service as well on the other end, and making it so user friendly to jump on our website and purchase a shirt or purchase a koozie or hat and able to, meet that fan later on down the road and them tell me or me notice, from their purchase order or that they purchased from my store and then put it all together is the most important part for me.
Yeah. So Rico, I do know the mullet hats were a big hit for sure. Do you know what your actual best selling piece of merchandise is? Because I do know you sell like backpacks and lunchboxes and cool. And that's kind of something not everyone else sells as well.
Yeah. It's honestly my number one selling item is the mullet hat still. And it's been, I think, a year and a half or 2 years since I've done another mullet hat. So, I need to figure out, either another design or I don't have any intentions on cutting my hair. So I just keep it rolling for now.
No, that's awesome. That definitely goes into the Rico Abreu style for sure.
Absolutely. Definitely a big part of your brand. So moving on from talking about your brand, I want to talk about some of your accomplishments, because like we mentioned earlier, you've been all throughout the United States racing with the World of Outlaws, the All-Stars, ASCS, a bunch of different sanctions. And the first one being your first Outlaw win. Can you talk a little bit about what that night was like? Where was it at? And what it was like to beat some of the best in the country?
Yeah, so it was at one of my favorite tracks in the world at Tulare or Thunderbowl, and I want to say I started up in the first couple rows of the feature, and it was really hooked up and fast. And I raced Terry McCarl for the win, and I got by, and then I led probably the last 10 or 15 laps, and I was able to capture my first World of Outlaw win, which was a really, really special moment for me. And my whole family was there, so they were able to experience that with me. And I think that's the most important part is just because my family, they're not as heavily involved in racing as I am, so it was cool for them to get to experience a special moment like that with me.
Absolutely. I guess now our next accomplishment to talk about, it goes right there with the Thunderbowl. Just recently, and unfortunately this event did not get to happen this last year, I believe, but it's going to be happening twice this year. You swept the Trophy Cup. And the Trophy Cup, I know, is one of those races. You had some success with prelim nights, and you were so close on the finale, but you were finally able to come out and at this most recent Trophy Cup pretty much make a statement every single night and beat some of the best in California at the Thunderbowl.
Yeah, my car was unbelievably fast last year, and the track conditions were perfect. My car was perfect, and I was able to, I think the first night I started 10th and won, and the second night I started 5th and won, and then the final night I think I started 17th or 19th, and luckily it was 50 laps because I needed all 50 laps to win that race, but I was able to capture the final night win too, and the championship, which I wasn't really worried about the championship that much. I was just more worried about winning races, and I was at a point at my career where I need to win, and I need to make sure that when we win dominantly.
The Thunderbowl, is it something just about that place that just suits your driving style, really? I know it's up on the wheel, sometimes right on the fence, and you can throw quite a few slide jobs. Does that just happen to be your style of racing?
Yeah, I think so. It's, just the way the cushion crowns against the wall. The balance of my race car fits that track tremendously, and it's kind of a hammer down place where that suits my driving style, and I'm able to, race down the straightaways and then just hammer it into the corner and kind of let it do what it wants to do. And it's not necessarily a bottom feeding racetrack, so everybody's got to kind of run the top to be fast there. And then the guys that, don't run the top aggressive is where you're able to throw slide jobs on, and just because it's kind of hard to pass on the bottom. And so slide job is a little more, needed there, and to bang off the cushion and try to get another big run down the straightaway.
Cool.
Yeah. Go ahead, Bennett.
Well, I had a quick question for you. So going from a place like that that's definitely up on the fence, this race, the Eldora Dirt Derby or the Mudsummer Classic, whatever it was, you ran and your best finish was third in that in the truck series at Eldora. And that's one of those races where you really have to be just up on the wall, tearing it down. What's the difference from going into a sprint car into a NASCAR truck series truck and putting it up on the curb like that?
Yeah. So the biggest thing I could describe different about the trucks was how heavy and slow they were. You ran the top at Eldora because of the banking, and you were able to just gain momentum up there. And then the trucks, I want to say the lap times were like 30 seconds around Eldora, or I want 28 seconds or something crazy, and a sprint car is like 12.5 or something.
Wow.
So it's I'm pretty sure we could do like 2 laps for one truck lap. It's pretty wild.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of fun, and I was able to gain another level of experience there, racing a truck around Eldora, and just the mobility of them. And it's going to be fun to see them at Knoxville and Bristol this year, and just see how they handle a little different and how the track holds up for never running anything like that.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. Do you have any picks maybe for the Bristol Dirt Cup race?
I'd say if Larson or Bell win, they'll be kind of levels ahead of everybody else. Then you see guys like Matt Crafton and JJ Haley and them, or Justin Haley, and them kind of getting more and more modified experience. So you'll see them towards the front. But it's just such a different style of racing where you're kind of just it's like street stock racing almost. Not to talk down on NASCAR's dirt stuff, but it's like you just run in there and lift and let it turn, and then you kind of apply throttle till you wheels aren't spinning and you get down to the next corner.
That definitely makes sense. So after talking about some of your biggest accomplishments, I think one of the biggest things everyone wants to know, what's next for Rico? Obviously, going into the 2021 season, you just ran the Wild Wing shootout for Paul Silva. What's your schedule kind of look like this year? Even though I know it might be kind of tough to put together a schedule because of the pandemic, things are kind of changing, whether we're allowed to have fans or whatnot. But what's this year look like for your racing?
Yeah, so I'm going to run a few more races on the West Coast in the Works Limited 57 with Paul Silva as the crew chief, and then I'm going to dip back into the 24 in the summertime and be able to get my summer routine kind of going in the Midwest, and get going on the big Outlaw shows and the All-Star shows, speed weeks, and and get winning in the 24 car.
That's neat. Another thing that also just came up through Rico Abreu Racing, one of the things you guys announced is you guys are going to be behind the Jack Haudenschild, his last season racing. He's going to compete in about 25 races, I think you guys said, in the 24 car. What went into planning that? I know Jack has obviously ran Trophy Cup for you guys before. He's been super successful there. But what went into planning behind his final season of racing?
Yeah, I just wanted to give Jack an opportunity, and I'm not going to be in my car here in the beginning of the year, and it allows me to open it up to where Jack can drive one of our primary cars we have that he's kind of driven in the past. So he was able to. He told me that this was going to be his last year racing, so I wanted to give him a strong opportunity to win another World of Outlaw race before he hangs it up.
Cool. That's awesome. And then one other thing that also has been in the news with Rico Abreu Racing after you guys announced the deal with Jack Haudenschild is also you are partnering with Jason Sides this year for his Outlaw Tour racing. What goes into that as well, being a part of another team that runs on the Outlaw Tour full time?
The biggest thing about helping Jason Sides was just him to maintaining, his sponsorship out on the World of Outlaw Tour and making sure that he has everything he needs to keep maintaining his program at a high level like he does. And it just his support on staying out there on the road. It gets draining at times, and I wanted to make sure we were there for him to make it all happen.
Cool. That's incredible. I know Jason has been doing it for a long time, so it's awesome to see you guys supporting him. Well, Rico, thank you so much for joining us here on the Off the Track podcast. We're going to kind of wrap it up. Thank you so much
thanks for coming on with us.
For hanging out for a 25-minute interview.
Cool. Thank you guys for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll talk soon. Have a good one.
Okay. Take care, everybody. See ya.
Yep.
So what a treat that was to get the opportunity to talk with Rico there a little bit, just about dirt track racing, Shop Rico. That's always something I'm super interested to hear about because he posts about it a ton, a lot of cool content to keep his fans up to date. We heard a little bit about how he got started in racing, and one of the most interesting things I wanted to hear was his Rowdy Energy deal, and it was cool how he touched on that.
Yeah, absolutely. I got a cherry limeade Rowdy Energy right here. And I think this is my favorite one. This is a really good drink.
For this episode, we decided to actually get a case of the Rowdy Energy and try it. I got the cotton candy. This is pretty good. I tried the orange citrus. I enjoyed that one too.
I had the strawberry lemonade. I like that one as well.
Yeah, so we enjoyed having a little Rowdy Energy on set today. What was your favorite part about talking there with Rico?
I think that's super unique to hear. The trucks are so slow at Eldora, and watching them on TV, if you're a sprint car fan, definitely you see how slow they are. But I never thought, maybe a sprint car could make 12 or 2 to 3 laps around Eldora before a truck could. So that's definitely something pretty interesting right there.
Yeah, that is insane, especially with how easy they almost look to drive on TV. Like, that's kind of how NASCAR is. Obviously it looks easy to drive from the stands, and it's obviously not. But how those things go around there, like he mentioned, super slow, but you almost have to have a lot of throttle control and get used to driving them way different than you would a wing or a non-wing or a midget. Around a place like the Big E. So that was super cool. Talking about a few things that's next coming in the racing world. Like we said, we have the Red Bluff Outlaws this weekend, which pay $1,500 to win. That's going to get that's going to get the racing and the excitement in that building up another level, as if it's not already high enough.
I think that's definitely in the top 3 biggest races at Red Bluff. First, obviously, you have the West Coast Nationals this year running the Burris Bull Ring Showdown, which was a huge event. And I think, we got the Red Bluff perpetual night. So I know for me, that's always been one of my dream trophies to win. We haven't got done. We've ran runner up how many times in the 250? I don't even know. But that's a pretty cool trophy.
Yeah, that'll be exciting to try to chase that and get our name on the 6-footer, because that's how it works. You get to take the trophy home for 1 year, then you have to return it for the next year's winner, and then you get your name on a plaque there with the year that you won it, which is always something super cool. Fortunate enough, I have my name on the box stock one twice, 2 years in a row, but never on anything else. And one thing that kind of hurts, I never got my name on the 250 one, but Carly's name's on there, so she kind of one-upped me in that area.
Yeah, she did. She might be getting hers on the OI.
Yeah.
I think that'll be are they bringing it back for the OI?
Yeah, so they have Open Intermediate Perpetual Trophy Night, and
Gotcha.
Carly's definitely going to be one of the favorites to win that, along with a couple other kids in that class. She added her second victory of the season this past weekend. We were going to do a live stream with her. Unfortunately, she was not feeling too good and didn't even have a voice after that, but she was still able to park it in victory lane.
Yeah, so the Holmes family, if you're on the My Race Pass, right, the fantasy league, solid picks, Tanner and Carly, for the upcoming race.
Absolutely. We'll give it our best shot. A couple other things going on in the racing world. The Great American Race is happening this weekend. Bennett, I know you're doing a little sports betting, trying to get your picks in to see if you can maybe earn a little bit of money come Sunday for the Daytona 500. Who you putting your money on?
So the way the pool works is obviously there's 40 or 43 spots, and you just get drawn a random car. I'm not too worried. It's Daytona. Anyone can win because it's a plate race you're drafting. It's just about surviving. But if I had to pick, how can you go against Danny Hamlin 2 in a row? Last year's strategy, just hanging out in the back. So I think I'm going to have to go with either Denny Hamlin, and my backup's probably going to be Kurt Busch.
Both of them are pretty phenomenal plate racers. You guys know who I'm going to go with. I'm not even going to lie. I have not watched as much NASCAR this last year as I usually do, but I'm definitely going to be tuned in Sunday to watch Kyle Busch get it done.
Yeah.
I think there's a good chance he needs to win a 500 to really, I think, add to his his resume, because he hasn't yet, right?
I don't think he's won a 500, but
he's been close.
He has been, and I think I'm always going to back Rowdy Busch too. So if he wins, I'd be stoked.
We'll be tuned in to watch Rowdy Busch and also watch Bennett's picks to see who's going to bring home the Daytona 500.
All right, so now going into our fan question of the week, Derek_17 asks us, so what are your plans going into the future with racing in school? Because I know you just graduated. I'm graduated. What are your plans? How are you going to mix the two?
So education, a bunch of people have been asking me this, like, Tanner, do you go to school still? Like, what are your plans going forward with that? So the biggest thing for me is I wanted to graduate high school. That's something I feel everyone should strive for. Both of us now are graduated. I, fortunate enough, was able to graduate about 6 months early through a dual credit program. So pretty much that meant by my sophomore, junior year, I was actually taking high school classes or taking college classes in high school, and therefore I was earning more credit for it. So I was able to graduate a little bit early, and I honestly probably could have graduated even earlier. I just decided to not put as much on my plate at the time. So I think that was super beneficial for me. So I was still able to focus a lot on YouTube, focus on everything we're doing here, and my main priority, going and turning circles around a racetrack. So I think the school thing, it all just really depends on your situation and what your interests are. But I never really enjoyed the setting of all that. And so my goal was, hey, how can I finish this as soon as possible? And then, get on and, start doing what I really, really love. So now I'm at that point. I'm stoked. What's kind of your situation? You're obviously a little older than me, but I know we both kind of started college at one point. I'm not doing it anymore. How about, where you're at?
Yeah, so I was a big fan of high school. Like, I'd never had the best grades, but I knew coming out of 8th grade what I really wanted my future to be. So I had a lot of fun in high school, and then I was always pushed by like my parents and stuff to, try college, give it a try. So I went to college. I think I did maybe 1 or 2 semesters, and I decided to make the boss man call here and say, you know what, college isn't for me. And the reason I did that, and it's not just because I dropped out and didn't want to do school, I actually had a plan. I'm a big stock trader. Like, I love learning about stocks. I've been learning about trading stocks since like 8th grade, all personally, just by myself. And schooling doesn't necessarily require that. And I did take a business class, so I learned a little bit from there. But, we're just chasing the dream. So if you don't have a plan, definitely go to school. But if you have a plan, definitely follow your heart and your make sure you just go for it, really. But other than that, yeah, I'm not going to college anymore. I'm just trading stocks and filming you go around circles, and hopefully I'll be going around them here soon too.
Heck yeah. I think that exactly what you said is perfect. These are kind of the times of our life, right outside of high school. We don't have to have life figured out yet. And that's kind of why we're trying things. And if you don't have a plan, like he said, going to school is probably a really good thing to maybe try a few different things and figure out the direction that you want to head. But you have so much time. Remember that, between 17 and 22, those are kind of the times of your life to really, figure things out and not be too stressed out about that. But yeah, I think we're both very happy with our decision to, not continue with college education and, now kind of be a little bit more out in the real world and trying things. So hopefully you guys enjoyed episode number 4 of Off the Track. We had our guest Rico Abreu on. That was such a treat. Cool. And we are planning on having many other guests call in, possibly doing some Zoom and some in-studio interviews already lined up. Our next one is coming in just a couple episodes.
Yeah, so I'll give everyone a hint here. I'm not going to release the name yet. But she is going to be a big contender in one of the races at Daytona this week. That's all I can say.
Yes, so we have a pretty big-time asphalt racer that will be joining us here soon. That's all you guys get to know. You guys can guess in the comment sections. Anyway, though, that we are going to be signing off for episode number 4. Like I said, thank you for tuning in every Wednesday at 3:30 for this episode of Off the Track, and we will see you guys next week.